What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Unqualified Film Bros. I'm hosting. I'm in the host chair again, taking over George's job. The fans wanted it, so we're just giving them what they want.
Second time in three
Um,
weeks.
Second time in 3 weeks. It's becoming like
Is
second
this
nature.
is
You
It's a
might be
second nature
promoted
position
for
for me.
this a sign of replacement? You know,
Maybe we'll let the people decide after this episode. But tonight we're talking about my favorite film of all time. We've done it for right now everybody but Declan. Declan's still waiting out, but we've got something special for Declan planned. So we'll see how that goes. But
Stay tuned.
um yeah, so stay tuned. But we're talking about Field of Dreams tonight. It's a baseball film, but also is it really a baseball film? Talked about that. Yeah, so what do you guys think? I'm gonna go to Ben first. He seems the most excited out of all of us to talk about this one. So I'm gonna throw it to him.
Um, honestly, I really dislike baseball. Okay. But I really enjoy this movie. I've seen it before. It's a very good movie. And like you said, it's a good movie because it really is not about baseball is the background, but it's not really a baseball movie. It's about, relationships, and dreams, like the title, a lot of dreams and dreams that never came to be. Um, and I think it's a fantastic movie. One of the things that I think someone said, maybe it was Roger Ebert, was it's a movie that Frank Capra would have wanted to make.
Mhm.
It definitely has that It's a Wonderful Life feel.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that it reminds me of, and maybe it's just like, I don't know, voices in a cornfield, but it's like a more, a happier Stephen King story.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good comparison.
Okay.
All
You've got
right, I'll
the
take
voice in
that.
the field, natural, telling him to build something, and then you've got like it's like Pet Cemetery, but if it was happy instead of
Yeah.
really disturbing.
That's fair. All right, let's throw it around the horn here. Baseball reference for those of you that don't get that. I'm gonna try and work in a couple of those throughout the night. Declan, let's go to you.
Okay, so like Field of Dreams is like sort of one of those films that I've always sort of been meaning to see, but like just never really got around to. I know, my dad has referred to it as among the best baseball films, and I know it's a classic and all that, but I just never saw it. But and so when I finally sat down to watch it, I like all classic films, I was hoping I would enjoy it. I was not expecting to truly love it. I literally gave this. I decided by the end of it that this film was deserving of 5 stars. I don't just give those out. I always try to like reserve those. This film is so goddamn good. Like it's I think it's partially just because of like how like this is a weird comparison, but I believe it. It reminded me a little of like the same feeling people discuss when they watch Paddington, where it's like in Paddington 2, where they just feel like uplifted by it and like just have a really nice time. Like I can understand it being too like sentimental for people, but like for me, I just felt this film was like a masterpiece. Like it was both like this like it's both a sports film, but also just like this insane like magical realism story, and just like just phenomenal, like utterly phenomenal. Like the fact that it starts off with everyone sort of agreeing that like this is insane that he's following this voice, but then it turns out okay for him. Like it's so weird to say, but that's why. Like it's not like there's not like people going like, what are you talking about? There's no baseball players all the time. There's only like a couple people who do that. It's like for like most of the time people could see it, and yeah, this is a masterful film that rightfully deserves of its classic stats. I'm not even a massive baseball person or anything like that. I like it well enough, but like I'm not a sports guy to begin with, so it's not. I mean, maybe it's some like subconscious like reverence for baseball, but like yeah, utterly blown away, fantastic. I totally, yeah, great.
Love
Sorry.
that is high praise from the two non-baseball fans, and I did do that on purpose.
Mm.
We've got George and Max here, who have talked about baseball for years, and obviously now have a baseball podcast. Check the link in the description below. It's called Shout at the Plate.
We
It's a
talk
fun
about
it's a fun
baseball for
ride.
people.
We're plugging our own show. Though to be fair, we've
Uh,
we've we've plugged Broken Chess before. We've plugged the
yeah,
rewatch.
go take a look at Shout at the Plate. It's a fun ride,
Right.
Go have
Channel link in the
fun.
description.
Yeah, it's below. George, go ahead, go for it.
Field of Dreams, man. There are films and then there are films. And this is the latter. I mean, everything that Ben and Declan said is entirely true. This is just from a filmmaking perspective, not even looking at it with a love of baseball. It's a wonderful story. Declan hit the nail on the head, magical realism. You know, take away the element of baseball, and it's a story of a man trying to connect with himself. And I think what we get through Kevin Costner's performance as Ray Kinsella really shows us a commentary on the human condition and what it means to have regret and what it means to move forward in life, maybe not satisfied with what you have until you know more about what you have. um, but yeah, I think the bottom line is this film is just good, and I say that in two reasons, because this film, yes, it is very strong filmmaking, speaking from someone who is in film school, if you guys didn't know that. um
Go George.
but like, beyond the narrative and the technical and every filmmaking element I could list, this film is true to what it wants to be. And yes, it uses baseball as its, the means through which you get to the end of Ray Kinsella reconnecting with his father, spoiler alert, um, and sort of finding his place in the world. Uh, but it's so much more in that everyone can find something to latch onto. Baseball is the American national pastime. It's a global thing at this point. Maybe it wasn't in the time that this film was made, but Field of Dreams is so accessible. It's a heartwarming story, and you know, I love baseball,
Mm.
so this one, it's an automatic winner, and I'm with Declan, 5 stars.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is my episode. It's my favorite film of all time, so I'm not going to disagree with anything that's been said so far.
This is
But
another Princess Bride where we're all just in agreement about how great the film is.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you need that,
Yeah.
right?
No.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a film like that that will just make you feel good.
Mhm.
I used to watch a good
That'll,
film.
yeah. I mean, there are obviously going to be films that are just really good, and people can acknowledge that, and that's totally fine. We'll get to, the baseball aspect of the film in a little bit, but I want to touch on something that both Ben and George, sorry, Declan and George brought up, was that the idea of nostalgia and pastime. George used the word pastime, and I think that was probably on purpose. Baseball is often described and called the national pastime. And I just want to know what your guys' thoughts are on, like, what is it about this film that makes it, yes, a baseball film, but what makes it not a baseball film outside of what George touched on in the of the regret or the longing for something that has escaped Ray Kinsella or has escaped Terrence Mann or has escaped Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Or Moonlight
Um,
Graham.
or Moonlight Graham, exactly. What is it about this film that makes it, with the risk of sounding like a broken record from our episode on
Elvis.
No, no. What was the of
Princess Bride?
no, honestly blanking on the film with uh
Who is in it?
Finn from Star Wars.
Oh, Breaking.
Freaking
Breaking.
from Breaking.
Breaking.
Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you.
your
Thank you. Thank
suggestion, and
you.
you hosted
Yeah.
it 2 weeks ago.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just been a whirlwind, but I was because I think I had Ambulance in my mind, which felt like
Mhm.
very similar, even though they're like different film, completely
Oh,
different
word.
films. It just
Michael Bay.
I had both of them in my mind. So I'm sorry. And I was like, I know it's not Ambulance, but I can't for the life of me remember the name of the other film.
You've been spending a lot of
Um,
time on Peacock lately, I know, and Ambulance is on Peacock, so I don't blame you.
oh, is it? I didn't even know that.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
there you go. Thanks, George.
Subliminal
Um,
messaging from Peacock into your brain.
there you go.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean it with Breaking it, like what makes this film not such a niche film that is only meant for baseball audiences?
Mhm.
Um,
I think what Ben said earlier um, really encapsulates all of that. I don't even know if that's a word right now. Sorry, my brain's a little
That is a
foggy.
word.
absolutely.
I was
Well
I
done.
was
See, we're all struggling right now,
I was
George.
I
You,
was
you can't
awake
just put this
really
on me.
I was awake really late last night and really early this morning. Um,
Mhm.
but this film uses baseball as its backdrop. It's a character study. It's a look at a slice of American life. And as Declan said, it's through the lens of magical realism. So
Mhm.
you're getting things that people can easily access um, in terms of story. This is an inherently an American story. And I think, yes, you see Shoeless Joe Jackson, and maybe if you weren't familiar with the Black Sox scandal of 1919, maybe you wouldn't get that right off the bat. But
Nice.
I think
That's two.
what it comes down to is that it's a movie. And even if you're not a baseball fan, you're going to understand what's going on just
Mhm.
because you follow along with the characters. There's nothing
Mhm.
that happens other than the Black Sox scandal. There's no prior reading needed for Field of Dreams. Nobody's known about Ray Kinsella before this. So we're picking up with his story at the beginning of his story. And so I think that makes it really easy for people to find this movie, watch this movie, and appreciate this movie beyond a baseball sense.
Yeah. I also think that like the film like really expertly weaves in like nostalgia itself into it, but it doesn't feel like in a way that it somehow feels like in a way that's like genuine, but not like too much nostalgia is obviously too much. But for I almost can't even fully pinpoint why. You know what? Maybe it's because Moonlight Graham, even though he got his wish, still knew what he wanted to be, and so it's like the film still understands it both. It both somehow manages to have a love for the past and for like the better times before, like that happened before, but also understand why things change or something like that. Like I don't.
Uh,
It's somehow both nostalgia, but not like reactionary. Like, and that's like I think that can sometimes be difficult to do.
well, let me touch on that just to go back and answer Max's original question, which is like, I mean, really, while it's called Field of Dreams and it is a baseball field, a lot of the people's dreams is not really exclusively baseball. So the one person whose dream, or people whose dream, is to play in that field is all the people accused of cheating. That's their dream, obviously. Shoeless Joe Jackson, like he says that it was like getting a piece of himself amputated. So clearly that's his.
Dialogue is just outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go
Mm-hmm.
on.
Um, And Kevin Costner's dream is to build this field, but really it's his dream is to, just have a catch with his dad, but more importantly, like have that last moment with his dad. It's not about the
Closure.
catch is symbolic.
Have a catch. Thank you.
Yes, that is have a catch, not play catch.
Like
Ben, you had it right.
And I mean, there's also, like you said, Moonlight Graham, whose dream is, he enjoys baseball, but like his dream was to be a doctor, and he was content with that. I mean, it's also like about faith. I think a lot of it has to do with faith. Kevin Costner's character, Joe Kinsella, has to have faith in this mysterious voice, and he believes in it.
Ray Kinsella.
Ray Kinsella. And he believes in it, and that belief turns into the field, and that field brings all the people back. But there's also faith with like Terrence Mann, played by James Earl Jones, who sort of lost faith in people, and lost faith in his own voice, and so he has to regain that. And I mean, there's a lot going, and like at the end too, when they say, they will come like to see the baseball game to save the farm. It's about having faith in people.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, yes, baseball is a theme, but I mean, how much baseball is really in the movie? Is like 30 minutes, maybe max. A lot of the time they're going around and doing other things, meeting people. It's about relationships.
Most of the baseball is like probably Kevin Costner playing the baseball with Ray Liotta as Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yeah. That, and then the guys, just playing baseball in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, can I also
the one game at Fenway Park.
Oh yeah, that's it.
What a dump.
All right.
Listen, you
Declan, go ahead.
But to the two big baseball fans here, genuine question. Is the film's perspective on Shoeless Joe Jackson's participation
It's accurate?
Okay, that is accurate.
Deadly accurate.
It's everybody's perception now of what happened.
Yeah, that he did take the money.
It's what happened.
But he
took the money, but he literally hit like 360.
He hit better than that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's no evidence that he actually threw worlds, that he himself threw the World Series.
He was a one-man wrecking crew while his teammates were letting like fly balls fall in.
Yeah, like Eddie Seacott, who is part of the film. I don't remember who plays him, but was like at the center of all of it and basically was grooving. And for those of you that don't know, grooving means just like throwing pitches right down the middle of the plate, letting the opposing team just absolutely destroy the baseball.
Basically throwing batting practice up there.
Yeah, throwing batting practice. And like he was at the center of it. He was a knuckleballer. And I mean, basically the history behind it was that the owner was really, really, really corrupt. It was Comiskey, right, George?
Charles Comiskey, yeah.
Yeah.
Charles Comiskey?
Something
that
Comiskey.
sounds right.
And basically, they had a field named after him, basically. And he essentially went to the starting players and was like, hey, I have got a lot of money on us losing the World Series. Throw the World Series, and I can get you in on these bets. And they all took it, including Shoeless Joe Jackson. All of them basically threw away the World Series except for Shoeless Joe Jackson, who like went on a rampage.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so it is accurate.
And it's accurate to how history has remembered him.
Yeah.
Like Max said a couple minutes ago, everyone knows that he played his ass off in that World Series.
Yeah. Like the stats don't lie. Like we know exactly what he did in those games.
He is 100% deserving of his spot in the Hall of Fame. He was a Hall of Fame player, basically in the dead ball era. And the fact that, he was banned for life after his alleged role in this scandal. And I mean, it's a black mark on the game that Shoeless Joe Jackson is not in the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Everybody hates it.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that Manfred, when the now commissioner, came in and took over his role, that he would reverse that decision. Same with Pete Rose, but like that's a different story. I mean, I think that should also be overturned, but another debate.
I mean, Pete Rose bet on his
overturned.
own team when he was managing it.
Yeah, but he also bet on them to win, didn't he?
Not all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. It's like it is different.
When you're the manager of the team, it's different because you
It
can
is different.
control the
but
outcome of the
also
game, essentially.
not relevant to our episode. And so I'm gonna get us back on track here.
No, I was genuinely curious.
I know that's a good question. That's a good question.
Because there was a part of me that was wondering if the film was like extremely biased in Shoeless Joe's favor, but I'm glad to hear that is
because even by that point everybody knew exactly what happened in that World Series and it was like, oh wait, that doesn't really make any sense at all.
Wikipedia page that's highly debated.
I
should have gotten the Wikipedia.
I did not think to look up Shoeless Joe's Wikipedia page. That's on me. That's on me.
So,
no, I was genuinely curious about it, but okay.
So I think the next thing we should talk about is just the performances, right? I mean, we've got Kevin Costner, we've got James Earl Jones, we've got Amy Madigan, Ray Liotta, so many big names in this film. And like let's start with Kevin Costner. I mean, what did he bring to this role that might not have that might have been absent had somebody else played it or played it differently? And like what were some of the things that stood out to you guys that made this film, as you know, at least 3 out of the 4 of us are rating it 5 stars. Ben, I don't know about you.
4.5.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Half a star.
Like a really high rating, right? Like, I mean, what made it such a high rating in all of your books? Based off of the performances.
I'm gonna start with Costner, as you asked. He loves baseball.
Thank you for listening to me, George.
Which is, well, we all are.
I love you.
Yeah, you too, man. But yeah, I mean, Costner loves baseball. That's no secret. He's done Field of Dreams, Bull Durham, For Love of the Game, Fastball, a 3-minute short with Taylor Lautner called Field of Dreams 2 in 2011. It was based on the NFL lockout. I have not seen it. I saw it on Kevin Costner's Letterboxd page earlier today. Not proud of it.
What?
Letterboxd has weird stuff when he goes.
It's got very weird stuff. Love Letterboxd, but it's weird.
Yeah, like the special features list is like what? Yeah, but anyway.
But yeah, I mean, he loves baseball, and that shows throughout. You know, there's, you know, you talk about being a game for the young and the young at heart. There's a sense of childlike joy whenever Ray Kinsella is talking about how much he loves baseball and what it means to him. So I think that really comes across in Costner's performance, but he also plays the regret and, you know, slight despair really, really well. There's a lot of nuance and layers to his performance that you get in his interactions with Terrence Mann and with Moonlight Graham that maybe you don't see if another actor who, you know, takes the role because it's an acting job, but maybe who doesn't have that kind of connection with the game, who can provide so many different angles to this performance. And I think Costner really ties together all the elements of Ray Kinsella in a really, really unique way. And, you know, it comes across as a truly wonderful performance.
I think like Costner manages to like, it's like he manages to really thread a needle between like realistic and also like able to accept what's going on to him. Like you like it somehow he manages to like always like never feel like he's like overdoing it. Like he sort of feels like a real person, but also like he feels like he like the character is he's realistically able to both have like the troubles he has, you know, with like maintaining his farm and like trying to get people to listen to him, but also feels like he can somehow find himself going through time or like meeting these people. And like it's something that it's like the script obviously helps with, but it's like it's something of a balancing act. And like yeah, Costner like nails it, but it's like it's a difficult thing that he managed to pull off, you know, finding this balance between the magic and the real is sort of, you know, with Ray's journey.
Yeah,
It's like it's
absolutely.
excellent.
Yeah.
And the love of the baseball, as you love of the baseball. Oh my god, sorry, that was bad.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
No, but like yeah, his love. Like I didn't know that he loved baseball. I mean, he was also in Bull Durham in the same year, so he probably enjoyed it a little bit. But still, like knowing that, it makes even more sense how like he can add such passion to the role, you know, and all that. So it's like it just comes together well.
Yeah, I think what you guys said is pretty on point. I think I don't know, Costner doesn't do anything like very different from some of his other, you know, well-known roles. He tends to play around the same character, even if like the characters themselves are different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you know, it completely works here. I think he's sort of just down to earth. His passion for the game definitely comes through. You know, it's just in the way that he talks about baseball. But I think the other thing is, like I said, it's about relationships, and he's very good at like being personable, I guess. That makes sense on screen. He has good connections. Like he always seems friendly, I guess. So it makes sense that he can recruit all these people, and these like honest performances uh, work well for him.
Yeah, I think Ben, just building on that real quick, and then sorry, I keep interrupting you. I apologize.
No,
But Kevin Costner as Ray Kinsella is really easy to root for.
Mm-hmm.
he tends to like Kevin Costner picks a lot of those roles where it's just like, you know, the guy you just want to root for him. You know, he's gonna win. So I think he does a great job. But I think honestly, the person for me that carries this film is James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
I think his performance is the best of the movie.
I can I just like very quickly
That's
say,
a take.
I like I think it's I believe both of them do fantastic jobs. I think there was a part of me that was a little worried when I saw James Earl Jones was in the movie, that like I don't like my presumption of it was I was slightly concerned like he would basically be the trope of like the magical black man or something like that. Like I obviously that's a little unfair since I didn't know what the plot of the movie was, but I think there was some part of me that was thinking like, oh, is he going to be like I mean, there's a different word for it, but you know, we're gonna keep it just yeah. But anyway, yeah, the magical like you know like I was like, oh, he's like just a guy who's helping.
When you're gonna follow up my point, I didn't think this was where it was going. All right, let's go back.
No. Okay.
Jones.
So can I finish the point?
Okay,
So
all right.
because it's really bad if I stop there. So the fact that Costner is a fully three-dimensional and great supporting character, like, was another like real surprise for me. Like I feel like he's almost like he's like a perfect like I think foil isn't exactly the right word, but like but he's like a more jaded person from the American experience compared to Costner. But and so the fact that they are able to connect with this dream, and again, it's like it feels like it feels like another genuine thing and like another uplifting thing. And so it's another element to make this film like work better, in my opinion. I think Costner is a fantastic supporting character. Like he makes Terrence Mann like so interesting, like so like you suddenly believe he's this like like I literally had to look up, is Terrence Mann a real author, even though like, but that was only in the middle of the film. But what says, I was like, oh, he's not an actual author, but still, a real, yeah.
I mean,
think
that's fair though, Declan, right? Like when I first saw the movie, a while ago, I also looked up Terrence Mann. I was like, is that a real person? Because one, I had heard about the actual Field of Dreams, which does exist. And I was like, oh, I mean, sure, maybe there aren't like fantasy baseball players that kind of just appear out of a cornfield, but the field exists. Like maybe Terrence Mann exists, maybe Ray Kinsella exists, and that this is like a folk tale that's based off of sort of, semi based off of a true story of this guy that builds a baseball field because he hears voices in his cornfield. Um, and that Terrence Mann was the inspiration behind, or like, the sort of the the thing that he's going after. And it's like, oh, I mean, that's not that out of the ordinary. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. And sorry, I cut you off. You're gonna say something.
no, yeah, I didn't have anything.
No, I said Ben.
Oh.
What I was just gonna say, it's an interesting dynamic between James Earl Jones and Kevin Costner, or their characters. Because Ray Kinsella is sort of the ideological progeny of Terrence Mann, and so is his wife, his counterculturalism. So I find it interesting, even though both of them aren't really into that anymore, or like actively, I guess. He serves as sort of an anchor for Terrence Mann, who had sort of given up on humanity, especially as readers. The first like lines he says is so good, where he just wants to be left alone. It sort of displays how far his character grows throughout the movie. Whereas Kevin, Ray Kinsella obviously sort of grows. He gets to have catch with his dad, but really, it's he's reinvigorated with passion for writing, with respect for his readers and for other people again. This road trip, even though he didn't know where it was going, I think half the reason that he chooses to do it is because he enjoys it. He's enjoying the companionship.
It's a really, really good character arc.
Yeah.
For real.
And so
and his ending
for him to do, to be fair, than for Kevin Costner's character.
When Terrence walks into the corn at the end of the film.
Mm-hmm.
That's just so many great moments in this movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can talk about walking into the corn, Ray Liotta. The late, great Ray Liotta.
Yeah, it's like I must say, I did not know how good, like, again, another surprise. I did not know how freaking good Ray Liotta is in this film as Shoeless Joe. Like, even like I somehow, even as someone who, I mean, I feel like I've heard the name Shoeless Joe Jackson, but like I don't really know much about him. Somehow Liotta, through his performance, like gives him like a true gravitas. Like you just feel like, oh shit, holy shit, this is like he's here, and it's like it feels. Yeah, I mean, it's like, a combination of like the music. Oh my god, the music, the directing, but also Ray Liotta that just like makes it like click together.
It's got a great intro scene where Ray Liotta comes out, and then all of a sudden, like, he doesn't say anything. It's just like staring into his soul, and just grabs like a baseball, and Ray Kinsella sort of knows what to do.
Is this heaven?
Yeah,
Oh,
No,
No.
it's Iowa.
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 Oh man, it's so good.
Also,
It's like
every time I need to mention something, there is a movie called The Postman.
Mm,
Kevin Costner is also in.
I think he directed that one as well.
Yes, that and Waterworld.
Did he
Very
direct
good.
Waterworld? I know he directed Dance with Wolves.
Yeah, he did.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
He did. He was pretty involved in those two.
Mm.
But in The Postman, he goes, "No, I'm just the postman." And every time I hear that, that's all I can think of now.
No, it's Iowa.
I'm just the postman.
Oh, what did I feel like I've heard kind of negative things about the
Kind
Postman?
of. The Postman is one of the most like critically eviscerated movies of all time,
Oh my gosh.
along with Waterworld that costs like $100 million or whatever.
Hmm. Maybe we should do a
Yeah.
maybe
Those
we
are
should do
not
a
bright
Postman
spots in
special
my
in the future.
career.
We'll cross that bridge another
All
time.
right. We're gonna go into we're gonna do a little bit of a change. So our final thoughts are gonna be talking about like the baseball aspect, the nostalgia, the national pastime. So just, quick few sentences on what your thoughts on that are, and then we'll get into something else. So whoever wants to kick us off with our final thoughts with the prompted question this time,
I will
go
go.
for it. All right, Ben.
Um, I think this movie works because of baseball, because a lot of these guys have an interest in baseball, at least as a kid. Um, and like you guys said, the nostalgia really works, but because it's about dreams, um, you know, relating to something familiar with everyone as a kid, I think works really well for that. It sort of puts you back into that mindset.
Yeah.
I'll
Declan.
also just say, or unless were you done, Ben?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. I'll just say that like the it's almost like propagandistic how effectively Field of Dreams uses and glorifies baseball. Like it's like baseball as a sport couldn't ask for a better advocate than this film, but it's also because it uses that sentiment that still lingers around baseball as the like central sport of 20th and 21st century America, like that. And it uses the sentiment in a way that everyone can become invested in it by both seeing how these people who truly love the sport feel about it, and also just like the similar feelings that people have. It like takes the known like nostalgia for baseball that a lot of people have, and like raises it up so that every single person can feel that exact same feeling, and it does it masterfully, in my opinion.
George.
There's one line at the end of the film that really encapsulates what baseball means to the film and what this film means to me, and that's, "Hey, Dad, you want to have a catch?" I mean that's I grew up having Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon baseball thrown in the backyard with my dad. Um, it's a movie for families and for audiences on a wide scale, but it's a movie for fathers and sons.
Mhm.
Um, you hear Ray get a catch in his throat when he's asking his long dead father to have a catch on this magical field, and then the camera pulls out. You get that great beautiful shot of the field all lit up, and then that line of cars coming to see the you know see the sights, as it were. um but I Declan said it best. Baseball, you know baseball could not have asked for a better portrayal. And considering it's my favorite sport of all time, I'm truly grateful to this film for providing such a strong portrayal of that sport, because it's just such a great story, and filmmaking. It's tremendous, but at the root of it is the greatest game on God's green earth. So, and I'm not a religious guy or whatever, but you guys know what I mean. I was going for the alliteration. But yeah,
Gotcha,
Field of
gotcha.
Dreams, it is baseball, and the fact that Major League Baseball now has an annual Field of Dreams game, I got to make it out to Iowa next summer. I don't know who's playing in that game yet.
I don't care
Um,
who's playing. I'm
I don't
going.
care. Let's head out to Dyersville next summer, Max.
I don't care who's playing. I'm going.
They're playing baseball in a cornfield.
That's
It's
so
awesome.
sick.
It's
so
so
sick.
damn cool. Nothing will ever top last summer's game between the Yankees and White Sox. Yes, I
No,
know the
but
Yankees lost,
I don't
but
care who won or lost.
I don't
That
care
was the
who wins or
best game
loses.
ever.
That was probably like a top 3 Major League Baseball game in history.
I would agree.
All right, Max, you want to take
Yeah,
us home on that?
yeah. I'll close it out with this, and then we'll do one more thing. But look, I'm gonna side with everybody, especially with George. I know we both have at least a comparable love for this game. Field of Dreams will always, always, always mean something so much more to us and to other diehard baseball fans than it will to other people, which is saying something, right? We started this episode by talking about how this is not really a baseball film. It has baseball in it, sure, but it's not a baseball film. It's a film about dreams. It's a film about fulfilling things that it's fulfilling things that you might never thought were possible. Having a catch with your dad, meeting your heroes, striking out on your own and doing something kind of reckless.
It also like giving something back to someone who lost like Dr. Graham or Shoeless Joe
Yeah.
Jackson.
But at the close of the film, like Georgia mentioned, it's not a big rousing game of 18 guys going at it on a baseball diamond. It's the childlike wonder and belief that permeates throughout the entire film of cars on a road lining up to see something that they had probably only heard about on the radio or on the news. They hadn't actually seen for themselves. Reminder, this is not 21st century Iowa where there's Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook. This is this this is like Iowa. And they're hearing about this baseball field and they're showing up on the belief that not only does this field exist, but the belief that this field will do something in their lives, that it is important enough for them to drive all the way out to Iowa to see this field, to just watch the game, not even to have something that matters. It's not a World Series game, not even a series. It's a couple of guys that don't even actually exist. They've been dead for like 50 or 60 years at this point. Playing a game. Uh, they're playing a game that they love out of pure joy. And you know, I think that is something as well. So we will leave you at that on our review of Field of Dreams.
If you are able, go have a catch with your dad.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Ben,
We're gonna call it tonight. But we're gonna come back at you next week with a fun episode, and we will see you then. All right. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Night.